Remarkable are finally using influencer marketing, and so you'd better hear a balanced viewpoint about it, because they're doing influencer marketing in a very controlled way. In other words, they're not just sending out devices to every reviewer, but they're looking for people with more general specialisms, and they're getting the messages out that they want to put out. They're generally making Instagram reels, and they're only interested in pushing the image that they are selling in their adverts. They are advertising in a very Instagram way. They're also doing an amazing job at it, and it's very powerful messaging that they're doing. It's all about the image of using Remarkable, and I want you to know whether that is an accurate image or not. 3 years ago, when I was researching before buying the Remarkable One, I was desperate to know the answer to 2 questions. Are they actually rubbish? Do they do what they claim to do in the marketing? And will I regret buying them? I was worried. I thought it would become something which I used for a little while and then was just left on my shelf. At least I knew there was a chance of that. But I just felt I'd get on really well with the paper feeling and the paper look of the device. And now I can't imagine going back, either to paper or to an iPad. It's just a different category of device from an iPad. There really is no need to compare them, although my comparison videos between Eink and iPad, they did do quite well initially. What are those clear benefits? Well, certainly there is the eye care. When I did try out planning exclusively on the iPad for 2 weeks, I did get bad headaches at the end of the day. Then there's the battery life. Having something that you just have to charge at the end of the week, which most of them can do, I found massively liberating. These for me are the 2 main benefits of Eink. There are a couple of influencers that I've got a lot of respect for who have chosen to work with Remarkable on these ad campaigns. And I'm all for that. I think we've all got the opportunity to partner with brands and that they should be doing these things. However, I think it's important for you to think that, well, these are adverts on Remarkable's own Instagram page rather than these influencers themselves. And I think it's quite telling that if you pause one of these videos, you can see that the number of pages in these notebooks is, 1 or 2 pages at most. So it isn't like this person has used the Remarkable for a long period of time. And I'm also aware that they haven't claimed to review, they've just partnered to be in one of the ads. And so we just need to be aware of that whenever we are exposed to this type of very clever marketing. And I would really love to hear what these influencers have got to say about the device on their own channel after having used the device for a period of a month or so. So it's clues like that you should really look at. Has the reviewer actually used the device for any period of time? See, with the speed of the device, it is due a refresh, can't you? So yes, I have used it for a long period of time. I think it's rather a good thing that brands are seeking to put their devices in the hands of content creators and influencers and look to get their opinion. And I'm really pleased to be part of a creator economy where people can, off their own back, make their own independent living making content. It's incredible. Some companies back their devices and then they stand back and they wait for the feedback. They send out their devices and leave the reviewer or the creator to make the content that they want to. And other brands seek to keep more control. Sometimes we'll get a brief from brands, features that they do not want you to miss, or suggested talking points, but there's no pressure to include them or not. It's just a bit helpful making the video, knowing what to look out for and what distinguishes one device from the next. I've got a way that you can actually test out if a review is really genuine or not. Go to that brand's website and have a look at the press resources section, and you'll see all the press releases and all of the stock photos of the devices. Look closely at the reviews and you'll see sometimes how closely the text of the review resembles the press release. And well, if they've only used the photos given by the company, then they probably haven't tested that device out, certainly not very thoroughly at least. I didn't know you could do that. You can leave whatever note you had on the screen when it goes to sleep. That's cool. I'll put that on straight away. And I also would love to see Aaron take his newfound enjoyment of an e-ink tablet and make a comparison of Remarkable to all the other options that are out there, because there are great options out there. General tech reviewers are only just starting to wake up to the fact that there is quite a difference between a standard Android tablet and an e-ink tablet. They're a different category of device, and I would love to hear his opinion about whether the distraction-free experience on Remarkable is really worth it when you compare it to what other e-ink tablets can do. Then there's the myth of latency, a rather grand title. I haven't used an e-ink device where latency has spoilt my enjoyment of it yet, so I kind of decided that latency didn't really matter. Well, let's hit up the 4K 120 and let's make some comparisons here. I'll have a look at the Remarkable 2 versus the Tab Ultra C and the Kindle Scribe. So this is 100 frames a second and it's been slowed down 4 times. If you play it back frame by frame, you can see that actually the Remarkable is consistently 3 or 4 frames behind. The Tab Ultra C is also about 3 or 4 frames behind. The Kindle Scribe comes out really well about 2 or 3 frames behind, interestingly enough, and the Supernote I measured at just 3 frames behind. So that's my not very scientific comparison of the latency of 4 of the top Eink tablets. And if you are just discovering Eink tablets, if the Remarkable is the first one you come across, then at the end I'll leave some videos where I go through all of the best Eink tablets that you can buy right now. As you can see, there's really not much in it. Essentially, if you go for one that's got a Wacom EMR pen, it's going to be just fine in terms of latency, somewhere around 20 milliseconds. It is an interesting competition though, and it's something that I always look forward to when Voya tests out the devices on my deep guide. And then there's just no competition to how an Eink tablet performs in different lighting situations. Eink benefits from having direct sunlight on it, rather than having to angle it and squint through the glare as you would on an OLED or LCD tablet. And then later at night, you can just have a tiny little bit of warm light on an Eink tablet. Well, except the Remarkable, because it doesn't have front lights, but you could just have an ordinary reading lamp, and that's a comfortable way to read or write at night. So back to my 2 questions I had at the start. Are they actually rubbish? Do they do what they claim to do in the marketing? No, I honestly don't think they are rubbish. The Remarkable does manage to keep a very premium feel, and if you can imagine it working in your workflow, it probably will. I've also no doubt that these influencers that I was talking about earlier, they will get on really well with the Remarkable, and you can see from their earlier videos that they do indeed have a stack of paper, a paper notebook, at the side of the keyboard, and that's just really going to be easily replaced with the Remarkable. It's going to be a really frictionless experience to replace a notepad with the Remarkable. So to answer this question about the marketing note, let's have a look at Remarkable's webpage. Firstly, yep, it will replace your notebooks and some printouts. It's not the only tablet that feels like paper though. And you will be given printouts by other people, and other Eink tablets do now have a camera so you can instantly digitize those printouts, as close to paper as it gets. Yes, it is low latency, but it's not an unprecedented writing experience. Other tablets do that just as well. And really, it was the Sony DPT that was the OG in that kind of satisfying screen feel tech. And the only one that is truly unprecedented, meaning there's nothing like it, is the Supernote series of devices. Powerful tools like undo, erase, resize, and move are just standard editing tools, really. And I don't see why they need to mention the paper feel again. And I would say it still has a bit of a disjointed digital flow in that it's hard to integrate with things like Google Drive. It doesn't work as you'd hope in the 21st century. Your work can be popped into folders, that is true, and they can be tagged, but this is not revolutionary. You can't search the entire contents of your notebooks either, even those that have been converted into digital text. It's just the titles and the tags that are searchable. And there aren't ways to make links or tables of contents like there are on other devices as well. No more typing up notes. There is the handwriting conversion, and as long as you write your notes with that kind of eventual OCR in mind, i.e. you write on like lines and you write pretty neatly, it should do a pretty good job. Yep, there are no pop-up ads or notifications. Any device in Do Not Disturb mode has no notifications. That being said, it is a device which does one thing and does one thing well, and there's something to be said for that. The second question I wanted to ask was, will I regret buying it? And there's 2 reasons why that might happen to you. If you're expecting this device to wean you off LCD screens, probably won't happen. Unless you're coming from note-taking on an iPad and you find that to be too much staring at a glowing rectangle. This is not going to reduce your computer screen time. In fact, it will only reduce your use of paper. If you're looking for something to replace all of the productivity things that you do with your phone, laptop, or tablet, then you need to look at a Boox or one of the other full Android Eink devices. Otherwise, you might end up regretting buying this if you don't end up using it every day. You've probably been used to using pen and paper all your life, and this is going to be quite a hard habit to break. You need to expect to go all in, and you need to expect a few weeks where you have to consciously reach for the Remarkable rather than a notepad. it may end up then being reserved for those theoretical moments where you have enough time to learn something new. You'll get handed things on paper still, and you'll want to quickly share notes and things, so you'll need to find time to digitize these things to use on the Remarkable later. And you need to get used to sharing from the Remarkable in the limited number of ways that you can actually do this. It's a very often comment that Remarkable is nice tech, but not worth $600. Well, I would say it certainly won't be if it ends up becoming a paperweight rather than a paper replacement. If you want to give it a go, you could always take advantage of their really generous returns policy. And you could also save a little by getting a refurbished one, or simply save by not buying the official case and official marker, but go for third party. And all of a sudden, the Remarkable is actually not too expensive compared to its rivals. Okay, so the fabled writing feel. They mentioned the paper-like screen feel several times on just the first page of the website. I think it might be 3 or 4 times. So we had better check that out. So here's the sound, which the sound isn't that important to me, but many people seem to care a lot about it. For me, it sounds like pencil on premium paper. And yeah, it does feel good, but it's not quite like paper. But that's not important. It's really important that it is inviting to write on. That's what matters, in the fact that the pen is responsive and accurate, except where the magnets are for the keyboard case. You see, without the keyboard case, you aren't getting that wobble. I'm getting a wobble there for some reason. And you can see you get bad ghosting, and if I compare that to the Tab Ultra series or any of the Boox Tab series, you won't see that type of ghosting on a Boox Tab Ultra. It's not always replicable. It automatically did its full refresh and it was gone. Not easy to predict when it's going to happen, is it? It's also important that the pen tools give you all different pleasing effects. They're good for handwriting, and they're really good for drawing as well. This is one of my favorite places to draw. The writing feel is good for sure, but let's not get carried away. The writing feel is good on many of Remarkable's rivals as well. And honestly, it's not so much of a reason to buy as everyone makes it out. The most important decision that you need to make as to which Eink tablet to buy is whether it will fit into your workflow or not. If the answer is yes, then buy with confidence. If you have to force it to become part of your workflow, then that impulse buy will become something you regret. Great, and well, if you need any more help deciding, firstly you can check out the links in the description for the main 4 that I recommend as Boox for productivity, Remarkable for note-taking, Kindle for reading, and Supernote for serious writing. When you decide that you definitely do want one, I've got a whole lot of breakdowns and comparisons for you to binge watch. Start here.